and welcome to a new edition of In the District. Today we're sitting down with the founder of EONS Education, Ali Shama, and today we're talking about AI's work, especially Ali's work in technology, the evolution of AI, and how it relates to education, specifically for students ranging in grades from K to 12. I'm Jonathan Calixto, and this program is brought to you from BronxNet's brand new media and technology studios at La Central in the South Bronx. Ali, thank you for joining us. I know you obviously are a tech professional, but also a Bronx native, and I know this area specifically means a lot to you.
Yes.
So you recently took a tour of our studio as well. Talk to me about how does it feel to be back here, see our studio as well.
I tell you, I couldn't be more proud of the work that's happening here at BronxNet and see this space. As I mentioned to you, I grew up a few miles away from here, and my parents, who came here as immigrants, when they first came to this country, was only a few blocks away from here.
Wow.
So to see this space, to see the technology that folks have access to develop programming for our Bronx folks is inspiring. And the technology that they have access to is world class. It's what you would see in any studio. It's what we deserve here in the Bronx. And I'm so excited to see the evolution of our programs here at BronxNet.
That's incredible, and I know that means a lot to our team, especially. Like I mentioned, you are a tech professional, have been in the industry for over 27 years. You also started teaching at 1992, you were telling me,
Right.
web design as well. When it comes to the evolution of technology, we're going to get into AI, but I know you also started an initiative called EONS Education. Talk to me about the inspiration, taking what you knew to start that as well.
Yeah, so it goes back to when I started in education, and I always tell people, I started teaching when there was no such thing as the internet, and then slowly started seeing something called the internet come out, and I was one of the first early adopters at the high school level that started running telephone wire. At that time, you had to run telephone wire into a modem that connected to a computer at these really slow speeds. And what you saw there when I first started playing around with the internet, I saw that this was going to be life-changing, and this was going to have a tremendous impact on the planet, on commerce, on every part of our lives. But I also remember at that time that you had folks telling me that this was going to be a fad and the internet was going to go away. And I said, no, I don't think so. I think this is here to stay, and I think it's important that we begin teaching students how to do that. And in that process, I started teaching the very foundation of the internet, which was HTML web design, which is basic coding. Yeah. Back then, it was advanced, but to what it is, where we are today. And I began seeing how important it was to begin teaching students on how they would leverage the internet. And then as teachers, how were we using the internet to support young people? Yeah. And I saw this as an opportunity to begin really engaging kids, and what I think is critical is making sure that the learning that happens in school is relevant, and ensuring that we're preparing students with the skills that they need when they go out into college and the workforce. And at that time, it was making sure students understood how to leverage the internet, how to leverage search functions. So a couple, more than, a little bit over 2 years ago, I started seeing AI and the development of AI. And then when ChatGPT became, when we were able to access ChatGPT, OpenAI's ChatGPT, I saw immediately to say, this is going to be like the internet again, in which we have to make sure that we first, as educators, understand the tool, how to leverage this tool, and then begin teaching both teachers and school leaders and district leaders on the implementation of this technology in schools. Schools are slow to change simply because of the structure that they're in. But this technology is going to require schools to think and adapt a lot faster simply because of the speed at which this technology is developing.
Okay, yeah, and I think obviously starting something of your own, like I mentioned, having the background that you have with, and being so passionate about technology as well. I know you've also have been an expert in kind of bringing these hands-on approach, a way for students to learn about technology through something called virtual enterprises as well. Yeah. Give me a little background of what that entailed as well for students.
So Virtual Enterprises is an organization that teaches business by engaging students in a business simulation. Students start a business, launch a business, and then do business-to-business transaction with other student businesses around the country. And as the president of that organization, I saw firsthand the types of programming that was happening across the country around business education. What I saw as a sitting in that seat, I saw an opportunity for us to make sure that students were learning artificial intelligence and how to leverage artificial intelligence in their business and every aspect of their business. Unfortunately, I also saw that some schools and some districts were restricting access to AI, New York City being one of them. Were restricting access for students to have to use and leverage AI. And I became concerned because when we're not giving students access to cutting edge technology, we're putting them at a disadvantage. And I personally feel that AI has the potential to close that equity gap like no other technology. So I was inspired to really think about how I can provide support. Having laid out and developed technology programs, both as a school leader and as a district leader, I saw this as an opportunity to go in and help schools and districts to think about how we're engaging them, particularly those in underserved communities, because I think this is where the potential really lives, to say, okay, how do we begin teaching this tool so that way folks can begin leveraging it so they can improve their lives and leverage it productively. But there's a lot that needs to happen in that, but most folks who have access to the internet can access an AI tool for free, so it's not something that you have to pay for.
Yeah.
You can pay for more advanced models, but having access to basic AI is critical. And it's critical because of the impact it's going to have on the workforce over the next few years. You know, certain jobs are going to go away, but that also means there's going to be an opportunity for new jobs that are going to be created.
Right. Now, when you talk about that, Ali, too, I know specifically when it comes to the education component, I know you were mentioning that this program is meant to serve the ages or grades ranging from K to 12 as well.
Yeah.
You know, with that being said, how, do you bring these programs to these students? Will it be something that is provided to students, regardless of their income? What is that equity kind of not to divide it?
Yeah, so I think at this stage what we should be thinking about is thinking about how we begin teaching both school leaders and teachers on how to leverage the technology. First and foremost, we have to be thoughtful on the approach in which we begin integrating AI. And that starts with making sure that teachers understand how to use the technology and school leaders understand how to leverage that technology, because there's going to be shifts in the way that we assess kids. There's going to be shifts in the way that we can provide supports to students. But they need to learn how to use that technology, because I believe that it can help save time if you leverage the technology efficiently. And that gaining that time back allows adults to spend more time with kids, because that's the most important part of any learning environment, is the relationships that adults have with young people. So if you have access to a tool that gives you more time and allows you to churn data to better understand the students in front of you and how to meet their needs, I think that's where you start. I think almost simultaneously, you're thinking about ways that you begin engaging kids in AI, but you have to think about the policies, data privacy. There are things that have to be thought about before you begin engaging kids. So I think schools will do it, and it's going to happen at different levels based on the capacity and skill level of district leaders. What we have to do as professionals and educators is make sure that we're providing the opportunity for all educators to have that level of training that's necessary to think about the implementation while all these things are happening simultaneously. You know, the rethinking of technology and the rethinking of assessments, the rethinking of the tasks that you're asking kids to do. What's most critical is thinking about the skills that students will need. A child in the 8th grade now, or in middle school, let's take, what will be the skills that are most critical for that student to be able to display when they go out into the workforce, 6, 8 years later? And that's analytical thinking, critical thinking, creative thinking, as well as the soft skills that are necessary. So we have to start thinking about, if these are the skills that they're going to need, how are we weaving that into the curriculum? How are we creating experience for students to develop that? And that analytical thinking becomes even more important with AI because of the opportunity to create false information, deep fakes, right? Like
A lot of concerns do definitely come up with AI, for sure.
A lot of misinformation. So it becomes even more important for folks to understand, how am I analyzing the information that I'm getting? Is it real? Is it fake? What's a trustworthy news program that I should be watching? You know, what are the brands that I can trust, like BronxNet, that we know that we're going to get credible and reliable information? I think it becomes really important for us to start thinking about that, because of the implications that has on elections, right? Like, we think about the last election and the amount of misinformation that was being produced in that election. It's only going to get worse as we go on, and it becomes that much more important for us to make sure that we're teaching students the skills, the critical thinking skills, that they're analyzing the information that they're seeing and making decisions based on that information.
Now, with that as well, obviously, when we do talk about the evolution of technology, the concerns as well that come up with technology, what do you think, or what are the next steps, parents even, obviously, when they're involved in their child's education, what are the next steps we can all do to be conscious of the concerns and to just learn more even about AI?
Well, I think that's it, is to learn more about AI. I think that we all have, as educators, we have a responsibility to make sure that we're teaching folks on what AI is, what the opportunities are, how to use AI, and then as well as begin understanding and teaching students how to sort out what's reliable information, what's misinformation, how you check a source, how are we teaching people those necessary skills. I think it's very important that we're thinking about the power of AI to communicate with parents. Right now, with AI, parents have the opportunity, if you to communicate with an AI model in their native language and have that translated into English. Right?
So important too for so many communities.
It's critical. So, and because it could be a mobile app, and most of our adults, even our immigrant populations, have access to a mobile device that's connected to a free AI source that's able to translate that information and translate information that they're getting from school into their native language, or ask questions. I think there's a tremendous potential there. But the other parts is connected, going back to virtual enterprise, where we taught entrepreneurship. Our immigrant populations, our populations here in the Bronx, are all entrepreneurial by nature. It's that, you know, I think it's within the fabric of the Bronx is that we're entrepreneurs at heart. But to be an entrepreneur requires that you're able to create and develop and be able to present information in ways that could be somewhat sophisticated. A tool like AI will help you create that information. If you have to create a business plan, or if you have to fill out an application, and you have to understand the application and write into that application a business model or response, you're able to use AI. Or if you're able to analyze, create a marketing plan, right? Creating a marketing plan is a very sophisticated thing, but if you understand how to leverage AI, you're able to prompt AI to help you develop a marketing plan that you can then begin putting in action, So
it definitely lays a good foundation for what you can do. And I think that's the great thing about AI, is that obviously there is so many possibilities, definitely sparks more questions. And that's why I'm so grateful that even in this quick time, we were able to have a conversation about it, just so that we understand. I know, especially for the people in our Bronx community, it's so important to learn about the evolution of technology. So with that, Ali, thank you so much for your time, for being here with us. Really appreciate that and learning more as well.
I loved it. Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Great. Thank you for everyone for watching. And remember, you can always watch this program anytime, anywhere on BronxNet.org and on YouTube. While you're there, make sure to follow BronxNet on social media to find out who will be the next leader we will sit down with on In the District. From BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios at La Central in the South Bronx.